after my friend as well.
Oh, I understand.
Who did you serve?
Our master is a local merchant. He is trying his hand at trading wine.
How did Alice get along with your master?
Fine. Just like with everyone. Our master is a bit strict, but he's fair.
Okay.
What's his name? Can I speak to him?
Why? But you can't see him anyway. He's on a trade trip to Prague.
It occurred to me that maybe he could have done it.
No, he couldn't. He was gone when it happened. He hadn't been home in several weeks.
Okay.
And besides, why would he kill them others too? He never even knew them.
I heard about that. And also about Lumir.
Well, if you're interested, go and see him. Maybe you'll catch him sober enough to talk sense.
Hmm.
Do you know of any suitors she might have had?
I know she was seeing someone. Why?
I'd like to talk to him as well.
But I don't know who it was. Alice said he was rich and dressed nicely. But she promised him she'd never tell anyone his name.
And you never saw him?
No, never. I don't even know where she met with him.
Do you know what exactly happened to Alice?
No. Nobody saw or heard nothing. One day, she just didn't come home. And then, they found her. Like this.
It's awful what they did to her.
She was such a pretty girl. And that beautiful brown hair of hers. And it didn't even leave that untouched. Who could have cut off her hair like that? And why? None of it makes sense.
So, I'll leave you to mourn in peace now.
Oh boy. Yeah, so he's been on the case. That's the crime scene, okay. Go talk to this guy first.
You there! Come back here!
Same to you.
Look what the cat dragged in. Greetings.
Oh, Christ.
What's your business here?
Just let me pass, will you?
Of course I will.
Oh.
Lumir?
Oh. Christ, my head. Not so loud.
I need to ask you something.
I said not so loud. I have a splitting headache.
That's some hangover. He's useless to me like this. Unless I'm
pretty sure
willing
I've got
to wait
a
for him
potion.
to strip it off. I'll have to get him some kind of cure or potion. This should sober him up.
Not getting more 10, Jesus Christ.
Here. Drink up.
Welcome.
Better?
What? Who? What are you doing here? Who are you?
My name is Henry.
And what do you want from me?
I'm trying to find out who killed a certain girl. And I was sent to you.
To me? What for?
Are you Lumir from the rat house? The scribe?
I used to be. Now I'm just Lumir the madman.
Fun.
Well, you don't look crazy.
Yeah. But I am. I see things in my head that aren't real. And then I point my finger at the wrong people. I'm the biggest madman in Gutenberg.
But I need your help.
If I were you, lad, I'd leave it be. You can't help that girl anymore, anyway. You'll just end up hurting yourself.
Come now, Lumir.
Poor girls. Nobody was all that interested in it, except for me. We let it be in the end. We let a monster walk among us. No way. You can't solve this yourself.
I'm not doing it for myself. I'm afraid he might kill one of my friends.
A friend, eh? That's not good. Not good at all. I searched high and low. And what did I get out of it? Just mockery. What makes you think you can find out more than I did?
Because I know people and can easily convince them. In the end, they spill their guts.
Is that so? What about me? Do you think I'll spill my guts too?
Well, a moment ago you were moaning in pain, and now you're deliberating whether or not to tell me what you know.
All right. Talk to me.
Love that
Who
fatty
was
speech.
this dead girl?
Her name was Alice. She worked as a maid.
A maid? That fits. Yarka was a maid too. As were most of the other victims. What did she look like? What did he do to her?
I think that he strangled her first, and then went at her with a longer blade and disemboweled her.
Did you notice the strangulation right away? It took me a while. Maybe you really will track him down.
Do you think it's the same murder?
Counting your girl, that makes 6 victims who were first strangled and then mutilated. If it's not all the same person, they must be collaborating somehow.
This is the 6th one. How long has he been killing?
Probably about a year now. Sometimes it takes him months.
Yeah, we already learned this.
Sometimes weeks. But I'm including missing girls. Stanya and Zdena.
Did the dead girls have anything in common?
Aside from being pretty young girls with no proper family or background, no. I couldn't find much.
Do you think somebody is killing them because they're poor and nobody will miss them?
Certainly. If somebody killed the daughter of a local lord, no stone would be left unturned.
But why does he even kill in the first place?
I don't know. Maybe he hates women. Damn it. I feel like I'm going in circles and can't get out.
What can you tell me about Yarka?
She wasn't the first. But thanks to her,
Maybe it's got something to do with the
people
hair
started
color.
taking an interest. She was a maid in a German family.
Cup of time?
By all accounts, she was a pious, polite girl. She was orphaned as a child. The priest from the church of St. Peter and Paul, Father Prokop, raised her. They found her body tossed behind a barn at the edge of town. She was cut all the way from her neck downwards. An awful sight to behold.
Did you have any suspects?
At first, I thought the son from that family did it. A murderer is usually someone close, you know. But then I changed my mind.
Why?
Well, for one, I remembered the 2 girls before her who ended up almost the same. Besides that, when I talked to the lad, he seemed he wasn't the least bit interested in Yarka. Then his mother told me that they threw her out a week before the murder because she was a harlot who stayed out till all hours of the night. That really surprised me, because Father Prokop had vouched for her good reputation. But who knows? Maybe he just didn't want to admit what had become of her.
What about Stanya?
She was an alehouse wench in a tavern of ill repute called the Hole in the Wall.
You said her body was never found. Maybe she just got out of town.
You have no idea how much I'd like to believe that. Only there was a lot of blood. Unfortunately, the investigation wasn't very successful. The Hole is a world of its own, and the people there aren't very forthcoming with information.
Did you suspect anybody?
You could suspect every second man there. Those people have nothing but thievery and deceit in their eyes. The innkeeper, Mole, definitely knew Stanya, since she worked for him. But he isn't all that chatty either.
Okay.
So if I want to learn anything more, I have to ask this mole in the hole.
Yeah, he still runs the place.
And what about that Zdena? You said her body was never found.
Exactly. But to tell the truth, nobody spent much time looking for it. Besides Alice, Zdena was the most recent victim. It's only been a few weeks since she went missing, but I suppose nobody wanted to do any more digging.
But if her body was never found, how do you know she was killed?
Because she was the same type as the other girls. Maybe the prettiest of them all. Young, beautiful. A real live one. Lively as the devil. She was a thief. A pickpocket. I never could pin it on her, though. She always found some way to get out of it.
Maybe she robbed the wrong people and had to get out of town.
Maybe. She had a partner in crime by the name of Strunad. Quite a number. He's always sitting in the hole, boozing. When I asked
Again,
him
that
about
place comes
Zdena,
up.
he told me he'd rather rip his own tongue out than talk.
Do you think he'd be more forthcoming with me?
He might be. You're not known all over town like a catchpole. It's worth a try. Besides, it might still be fresh in his memory. That would be a great help.
And what about the other 2 victims?
It all started with them, though nobody did much about it at the time. The first one worked as a bathhouse maid. They called her Chestnut. She'd only been in town for a short while, and nobody really knew her. So I couldn't find out anything more. But the other one, Libushka, she was from Loretz. She was a maidservant, too. I also talked to her mother. She said she was really cheerful and outgoing. There were lots of suitors circling around her, but she refused them all. She knew she was pretty and knew she could do better than some farmhand.
You mean she wanted someone higher up?
That's what it sounded like. But her mother never found out who she had her eye on.
Interesting. I'll try to see what else I can find out from the mother. Where can I find her?
In the graveyard, lad. The poor woman died of grief. It's sad to say, but we can't help those 2 dead girls now. And they can't help us with our investigation either. There's nobody else left who could tell us anything about them.
Why were you looking into it? Who were those dead girls to you?
I don't know what people told you about me, but for many long years I was a scribe for Kuttenberg's bailiff. Kuttenberg is a big city with a lot of people. Silver, silver, silver. Mining it, smelting it, stealing it. There's always something going on. The bailiff was always running from hell to Hades, from one rich man to another, settling their quarrels.
Okay.
But there are more than just rich burghers and lords in the city.
Exactly. There are common folk, too. So when one of them came to the bailiff's one time, and the bailiff was running around somewhere...
Okay, so you did it like a Sherlock Holmes.
Behind the bailiff's back?
Not really. Andreas supported my activities until...
What happened?
I don't want to talk about it. Sorry.
Did you have any suspects back then?
You can always find some suspect. I always dragged the most suspicious ones to the body in the morgue by force. And they threw up at the sight. Or fainted.
Couldn't it have just been an act?
Fainting? Vomiting? That's hard to act. I'd swear none of them did it.
Can you sum it all up for me?
We have 6 victims here. And I believe they were all murdered by the same killer. Unfortunately, we only know a little about the last 4. The most recent ones. By now, we won't learn anything about the first 2. Of the remaining 4, the first to be killed was the maidservant, Yarka. She was raised by Father Prokop from the Church of St. Peter and Paul. He should know the most about her. The next were Stanya and Zdena. Their bodies weren't found, but we assume they also...
No, but I can talk to people in the hall about them.
They both hung around a tavern they call the Hole in the Wall. And the last victim is Alice now. What they all have in common is that they were young, beautiful...
Oh, they're all brunette.
...and brunette.
Good. I know everything I need to know.
When you learn something more, you've aroused a bit of hope in me, lad.
Oh, really? Come on. You could have jumped that, mate. Made my life just a little bit easier.
Be careful, you silly doggy.
That's Father Prokop. Okay.
Good day to you. What brings you here?
Father, I need to ask you a few questions.
I don't have time for theological discussions, my son.
That's not why I'm here. My name's Henry, and I wanted to ask about the murder that happened recently. Someone killed and gutted a young maidservant and left her body lying by the city walls. And I hear it's not the first time this has happened.
Another one murdered. May the Lord grant.
I mean, there's no way he wouldn't know. It's in the morgue right next to him.
You ask.
I fear for my sister. She's also a maid.
Yes. Fear for those close to you is commendable. What would you like to hear?
One of the other victims was a girl named Yarka. But I reckon you know that, don't you? What can you tell me about her?
About Yarka. She was an ordinary girl. She served the von Groll family.
Where did you know Yarka from?
I knew her since she was a little girl. Knew her family.
And?
I was her uncle. When my brother and his wife died, I took care of her.
Who do you think killed her?
William, that pig of Satan. He gambles in the tavern on All Saints' Day and leads the locals astray. Yarka always went there to listen to music.
Why do you think it was William? Do you have any evidence?
Evidence? He's a skirt chaser, a tool of Satan. He messes with poor girls' heads.
And does anyone else come to mind? No other man spoke with her?
No, absolutely not.
You raised her? A priest with a child?
Yes. Unfortunately, I'm not the first of the clergy to have a child on the side. But at least everyone knew Yarka wasn't my own daughter.
No offense, but how did you know what to do? Without a wife, without a family? I would have been lost.
I was a bit, son. When she was smaller, it was fine, but when she grew up a bit, maybe I was too hard on her.
Why do you think you were too hard on her?
Yarko was an orphan, with no family and...
Well, you're the uncle, so she had family.
Her only chance of a good life was a good upbringing. And then, a husband. But the more I led her in that direction, the more she resisted me.
How did she rebel against you?
She wouldn't listen. She ran away. She ran around with all sorts. And how did it turn out? She died. And in sin. Such a disgrace.
Disgrace? What the devil are you talking about?
She was pregnant. Even if she had lived, what then? Nobody would want to marry her anymore.
Huh.
You're well off, though. Couldn't you provide for her?
I couldn't. Even if she had been my very own. More so, since she was my brother's.
But how come?
The church's property always remains the church's. They keep a close eye on that.
How does that even work?
When she was small, I could. But when she grew up, she had to go. It wouldn't look right.
Why don't you respect Lumiere?
That's my business. I won't tell you anything.
But this is important. Do I look like someone who's asking out of curiosity?
All right. Lumiere accused me of her murder.
What?
Yes.
And he obviously has an anger
Slandering
issue.
me in public.
And how... What happened then?
It turned out he was deranged. How could he even think such a thing? He's finished in Kuttenberg.
I've heard enough, Father. I'll be going.
Son, I'll give you some good advice. Don't listen to Lumiere. That man has gone completely mad.
Yeah, sure, bud. Hmm.
Be careful.
So, you saw guns?
Möchtest du, mein...
What do you have for...
A hook gun, a marksman gun. Oh my god. Serve as a wedge, the weapon behind obstacles. If it's going off price, then the master handgun is the way to go. Weighs more. There's more power to it.
I'd like to discuss the...
that... Sehr gut. I can... I'm glad you found... what you're looking for, sir.
Okay, I got a master handgun now.
Welcome. Greetings. What do you need?
What do you have for...
Hmm. Oh, I've got a decorated field crossbow. Power is 380. That one's 550. Mm-mm-mm.
Let's talk about the...
Well, finally. Thank you, sir. And come again.
hoping someone... Never mind. Hoping someone could teach me some archery back there.
Come on then!
Smells like trouble.
Close to the others. It's not
What kind of pig was sitting here?
What's up, Mole?
Greetings to you. How can I help?
Did Estanya work here?
Stanya. Maybe. It depends on who's asking.
My name's Henry.
He already knows
Names
this.
don't interest me. The main thing is whether it's a good guest or a bad guest asking. What kind of guest are you, Henry?
I'm a good guest.
Really? Let's see. Do you know how to recognize a good guest?
By the fact he spends a lot of coin?
Aye. I like talking to them kind of guests. A lot. So, what'll it be, my good man?
What if I simply paid you and you tell me what I want to know?
Ask away.
I want to know if Stanya
10
works
grosh
here.
and stuff.
She did. And she don't know more. What's it to you?
Well, I heard she disappeared without a trace. So I'm trying to find out if anyone had anything to do with it.
It's possible. The chamber she was sleeping in here was totally ransacked. The door open. Everything emptied out. And Stanya was gone. All I found were bloody footprints.
Tell me something else.
First, you'll have another beer.
What?
If you want to ask, you have to drink. Didn't you get that?
You're quite the extortionist.
I prefer to be called an enterprising man of trade. So, what'll it be?
I don't want to pay you any more. I think you could answer my questions directly and not always try to wheedle money out of me. That makes it look like you might have some motive for keeping me from finding out anything about that murder.
Nonsense. How could you think that? Come on. Ask me anything you want.
Did anybody see what actually happened when Stanya disappeared?
No, it was at night. Nobody saw or heard anything. The tavern tends to be empty at that hour. And you won't meet many people on the street, neither.
What was Stanya like? What can you tell me about her?
A bold woman. One has to be here. Everyone's ballsy here unless you nib it in the bud right away. She was hanging around a bard for a while. I don't know how close they were, but she also had another suitor.
Someone from the city?
No, a charcoal burner. I heard he was from somewhere in the, Verchlitz Valley. I think his name was Barton?
What do you know about that bard?
What about him? He's a minstrel, a skirt chaser. What more can I say? He called himself William. As far as I know, he plays in the Miners' Tavern in the evenings. But sometimes he shows up here, too.
You think he might have been the one who...
Okay, there's a connection between two of them.
He cleared out of town for a while, and only came back not long ago. It could be him, all right. I know he met with some odd people, and talked about God knows what. Like bloody spies. Besides, you know what minstrels are like. Lasses just flock to them. And like they say, opportunity makes the thief.
Or in this case, a murderer. Apart from those men, did anyone else know Stanya? I mean, more intimately.
Well, I got bad news for you. She had two close friends, but you won't get much out of either of them.
Why?
One was hit by a cart, even before Stanya disappeared. And she died. And the other one got married and moved away.
How did Stanya's room look?
The door was wide open. Most of her things were gone, but some remained. And there was blood all over the place.
Blood? Was there a lot?
Not so much, really. More like hand or footprints. But they were near everywhere. If someone done her in, they definitely didn't do it in that chamber.
Where can I find this Barton?
I already told you. In the Verchlitz Valley.
Could you be a bit more
Don't even know how to
precise?
pronounce that.
I don't know that bloke at all. All I know is he's a charcoal burner. So if I was you, I'd look somewhere...
That's
Okay.
all I need to know.
Next.
Are you Sternad? The one that went with Zdenna?
Who the fuck are you?
Just an ordinary bloke who has some questions.
Well then, piss off. You won't get any answers here. All you're gonna get here is a kick in the teeth.
Why so rash? That kind of attitude will do you no favors. Let's make a deal. You tell me everything you know about Zdenna, and I'll make sure you're no worse for wear.
Ah. You're the lord what that whore robbed. Don't worry about it. She weren't nothing but a lying bitch.
So,
What?
if I understand correctly, we can make a deal?
For the right price, I'll tell you all I know.
Is this the right price?
You fucking bet it is. Ask away and I'll tell you everything.
Where can I find Zdenna?
Aye. That's what I like to fucking know too. Last time I saw her... Well, that'd be back when she managed to fleece you.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to find her.
I can well imagine. Well, she went to Ravstein Mill. It's quite a long ways away. She had some unfinished business with some bloke called Pint. Ain't nobody seen her since then.
What can you tell me about Zdenna?
What do you want to hear? I try to keep her out of trouble, but there's just no helping some women.
So you were taking care of her?
Well, just in front of the others. Other than that, she did what she wanted. Always made her mind up and did things her own way.
So you weren't too fond of her?
Not really, no.
Huh.
But she did have a knack for making coin.
Did she have any friends or lovers who'd know more? Did anybody come here to see her?
Who come to see that bitch? She was always off somewhere, seeing someone. Although, once...
Someone came to see her?
Well, aye. Some stuffed frock came here once. All old and decrepit.